I've been watching gun-related YouTubers and YouTube videos for a lot of years, and I really enjoy it. And it's very informative, and you learn a lot. And you see some cool guys do some really cool things. One of the things I've noticed, though, is I've been doing it long enough that I've been able to see some of these guys, their channels grow, and as their channels get big, and they're able to I think start generating income from YouTube and from related businesses and maybe products and other social media sites. As their followings expand, they're able to, I think probably many of them, start doing what they do full time. And that's great. I think that that's fantastic. I'm happy for them. It's a phenomenal thing that they can pursue what they want to do and make a living at it. And I think it's very useful information, and a lot of people probably, like me, really benefit from it. But one of the things that I've noticed, kind of a trend that I've seen, because I have been watching these videos for so long and watch these channels grow, is that as these guys grow, they get more and more and more intense. And as they get more intense, they start pushing that intensity through their channels. And they start talking about training all the time. And I start to wonder, these guys, I don't know if all of them go to the range every day, but in almost all their videos, they're at the range and they're blowing through probably at least a couple hundred rounds of ammunition, maybe sometimes more. They're buying a lot of guns, holsters, equipment. And for a regular guy like me, where does that leave us? I'm a single dad with 3 fairly young children, and I have a small business that I own and operate, and I have a house that I have to take care of, and I have all kinds of things that demand my time. And there are days when it's all I can do just to get home in the evenings to have a little bit of time to decompress before I have to go to bed and start all over again the next day. So I do get range time, particularly when the weather's good. I live close to a range that's out in the desert, and there's a spot that I have that I go shoot out there, and I can go out there about any time, and I'm alone, or I bring one of my kids or somebody else that wants to shoot, and we have some steel targets and other targets that we use, and we do some good range time. But the abundance of pressure to train, and what I found that does to me is sometimes it makes me feel inadequate. It makes me feel like that, this pressure and this, I think, almost artificial obligation to train. And I wish I could do that. And I think a lot of us that appreciate guns and have shot guns and enjoy the sport of shooting guns would like to do that more. But the question is, do you have to train every day, all the time, and shoot through maybe thousands of rounds a month to be proficient with your firearm? And the answer is no, you don't. I think for most people as self-defenders, if you're going to carry a gun and you're going to rely on a gun to save your life, should circumstances ever call for that, you can train once, twice, 3 times a quarter, maybe 5 or 6 times a year. You need to get out to the range. You've got to get some time behind the trigger. You've got to shoot the gun that you carry. And I'm not talking about a gun that's like the gun that you carry. I advocate shooting the actual gun that you carry. You've got to know that gun. And if you're going to trust that gun, you've got to have some time behind the trigger, live fire behind the trigger. The other thing that you can do, which I just finished doing, is dry fire drills. And I do dry fire drills pretty much every day. I typically do them in the morning, right before I leave the door for work. One of the last things I do, I'm showered, I'm dressed, I'm ready to go, and I go through a few dry fire drills. And those vary in how I do them. And I'll talk maybe about those kind of drills and what I find useful for me in another video. But I just want to encourage myself and anyone who stumbles across this video that you don't have to spend a lot of money to effectively own and carry a gun. In fact, I'm working right now on the skeleton outlines for a video on being able to obtain everything you need to legally carry a concealed firearm for the way it's working out right now. I think I can show a lot of people how to do that for under $650, including the firearm, including the ammunition, including the training, including a good holster, everything you need to legally carry concealed and competently carry concealed. And so that's something that I'm working on and I'll be putting out soon. But this is just a quick video to say that I'm not one of these guys that thinks that you got to be out at the range 3 or 4 times a week to be a proficient concealed carrier. I don't think you have to go to the range even once a week. It's great if you can, and if you're able to do it and you have the time and you've got some ammunition, go do it. It's great. It's great fun. I enjoy it and I do it every chance that I get. But where I live in the wintertime, I can't go out to the desert very much because the weather doesn't permit. Sometimes you can't even get back in there because it's so muddy. So I do some indoor range training time. There's a great indoor range here that I frequent. Often take my kids and we shoot a variety of things when we go. But every time I shoot, I do some trigger time with my firearm that I am carrying or a firearm that I do carry. And I think that's critical. But if you only get to the range a few times a year, I think that's okay. That's a bare minimum. If you're not getting to the range at least 3 or 4 times a year, you really need to give some thought to making that a priority. Because whether you go to the desert or to an indoor range, I think that getting that time behind the trigger is vital if you're going to effectively defend yourself and safely defend yourself and avoid potential collateral damage that is catastrophic. Get out to the range, and I would suggest that you do at least one good training a year. You can get some good training for under $100, maybe a couple of hours with an instructor on the range for somewhere in there at some ranges, maybe just an hour with an instructor. But there are classes that you can take, and if you can take one good self-defense or pistol handling or self-protection class a year, you'll be glad you did, and you'll get to meet some cool people, and I guarantee you'll learn some things that you'll be able to use and that you'll find valuable and pass on to other people that you know who may be in a similar place that you're at. So that's my thought for today, is train when you can, but don't be discouraged when you can't. Few hundred rounds a year, maybe 500-600 rounds a year. And I think if you're doing the right kind of training, you will be a valuable asset to the concealed carry community and a valuable asset to yourself and to the ones that you love.